Imagine a Jedi that's strong in all aspects of the light side of the Force, but can also embrace some of the powerful aspects of the dark side of the Force to become the Gray Jedi that so many people have hoped to see within current canon. Don't get your hopes up, apparently. In another little tidbit of information from this past weekend at Salt Lake Comic-Con, there was one particular panel discussing what is balance of the Force. This featured Brian Young from the Full of Sith podcast, as well as Matt Martin from the Lucasfilm Story Group. Now, I made a video a while back talking about how, at least in the movies, the idea of balance in the Force is pretty much complete bullshit, and really should just be kind of let go as a swing and a miss at a plot device that just ended up not making sense and not working. But a lot of this panel did have some interesting discussion regarding particularly the expansion of everything within the mysticism of Star Wars from the Clone Wars series, most notably the Mortis trilogy, in which we get a whole new idea of light side, dark side, and some overseeing father to everything, as well as the cosmic force and the living force. There's also been tons of speculation since The Force Awakens came out that eventually down the road through the new trilogy of films, we might see Rey eventually become the first on-screen version of a Gray Jedi, in the sense that she is a Jedi, or at least strives to be, but during her fight with Kylo Ren appeared to many people to be somewhat sort of channeling the dark side to overpower Kylo Ren with anger. With all of that said, throughout this lengthy intro, at one point during the Q&A session of this panel, somebody asked the question outright, where do the Gray Jedi fit in? The response from Matt Martin was about as simple as it gets, and putting it bluntly, they don't. Now, that's not to say that this is necessarily an official statement, but it was a very blunt answer from a member of the Lucasfilm Story Group, so it doesn't seem hugely encouraging that we may eventually see a Gray Jedi within the current canon. The explanation being from Matt Martin that if you use the dark side to some degree, you're taking away from the light. So that sort of leaves a person to wonder if there's not really much value in being in the middle at all, and that the best way to actually maximize your potential as a Force user is to fully commit to one side or the other. I do have to say that I find it a little bit interesting that even somebody from Lucasfilm doesn't seem entirely sure what exactly balance in the Force is, and leads me to think a little bit that they're just going to completely move away from that idea, sort of wrapping it up with that line at the beginning of episode 7 that without the Jedi there can be no balance, because in the prequels it was apparently the balance isn't happening until all the Sith are gone, which doesn't make sense at all from a balance standpoint. If you're like me and you also wish that they would just kind of do away with the entire idea of a prophecy and a chosen one and balance in the Force, to me, this sort of feels like a good thing. Like they may actually be moving away from that, because if the actual people at Lucasfilm don't have an actual definition for what balance in the Force is, then they're probably not that worried about trying to tackle this story element that never really fit in the first place. But anyway, that is just that quick little bit of news I wanted to share, because I was lucky enough to attend this panel at Salt Lake Comic-Con this past weekend, and it was a whole lot of fun. If you have any thoughts on this whole thing, please feel free to share them in the comments. Be sure to click the like button on this video. You know I always appreciate that. Obviously, there's going to be plenty more Star Wars videos on the way, and a couple more things I'm going to cover from Salt Lake Comic-Con, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss those. But above all else, everybody, thanks so much for watching.